Bramborough back with Grand Tactician Civil War, CSA campaign in 1.09 beta. So yeah, I've been a bit ill last couple days, but that's over with. Feeling pretty good now. Time to whoop up on some Yankees again. No tactical battle this episode, however. There is a lot of movement on the campaign map. As it turns out, my initial idea along the lines of, if I don't do anything in the West, neither will the Union. Well, that myth is thoroughly busted today. Let's get in and see what shenanigans Billy Yank gets up to. Now, biggest tip that I think many players don't know, that I think many players would find extremely helpful: movement panel delay. You can turn this off. And what that means is, this is on the campaign map whenever you're telling an army or a corps to go somewhere, and then there's that little menu, right, that pops up, which is what you use to tell it to go on forced march, or use the trains, use river transport. And if you don't catch it in time, that thing will time out and disappear before you're able to make your choice for, hey, take the train. Click this. It'll stay there freaking forever. And, you know, put it on short as possible so it shows up real quick, and then turn it off so it doesn't disappear. I don't know why it's not like that by default. But trust me, make this change in your options. You'll thank me later. I've added a couple of more viewer units. And the first here in the Army of the Shenandoah. It was an existing unit, but remember I had given B's brigade the engineer perk. And so I'm going to try something a little different here. This is an idea. It came up in comments from someone to do this, and what I found really interesting about that was, completely independent of that, I had kind of had this idea myself. And what we're doing here is and I intend to have an engineer perked brigade in each corps. Right now they're still armies, but they're going to be corps at some point. And so I've taken that brigade and I've moved it to the artillery division, right? And that's the red leg engineers, who now have red trousers. See, they have the engineering perk. They're up to engineering 3. This is actually an elite unit. They have their own little flag, in addition to of course, the CSA flag. And the idea behind this is, I want an engineer brigade in each corps, because what this perk does, first of all, they can build breastworks faster, but that's not the real reason for doing this. It's engineering points are doubled in a battle. So we get more engineering points by having this guy in the corps. And that's why I want one in each corps. And we have that in the Army of the Shenandoah. We also have it in the Army of Northern Virginia. And I have taken B out because it seems appropriate that the commanders of these brigades are themselves engineers. So I've got Louis Hebert from Louisiana in command of this brigade. I like Louis Hebert. And as I mentioned, we also have an engineer unit in the Army of Northern Virginia, and I've done the same over here. Martin Smith, another engineer, is commanding this unit, and I'm calling them the 2nd Engineers, also with red trousers. And so the idea is that this brigade, his presence in the corps, gives us the engineering points, and I'm putting with the artillery in that because the artillery division kind of tends to be centralized and set back a little bit. And so this brigade serves as a reserve that can kind of flex to either flank or to the center wherever they're needed. And it just because if he's with the arty, he tends to be in a central position already. And also with the engineering perk, he can throw up a little breastwork for cover for the artillery divisions, wherever they happen to be. And they've always got some infantry nearby in case it's needed. I don't know. Is it worth dedicating an infantry brigade to that? I don't know. I'm not completely sold on this idea, but I had the thought. Another commenter had the thought. So yeah, we'll do it and see if we like it. So I've done those. And then also in the Army of Tennessee, we have, let me see if I can find where they are. Here's the Polish Brigade. White jacket, red trousers. And the requested commanders for that, they're not in the game. And I cannot, now that the campaign is started and is running, I can't create avatar generals for them or officers for them. I can create them, right, in the game start. It's just they won't be eligible in this particular campaign. They won't show up in the officer pool. So they're under the command of Johnson Duncan. He's a pretty good guy. 2 stars in most attributes, and his fame will come up as combat comes along. And then we also have the 36th Louisiana under command of Colonel John Scott, who is a Louisiana volunteer. And he's got pretty good stats. He seems like a good guy for this unit, with the brown jacket and white trousers. And sorry, mixed muskets, all I got. And that may be all that I have for a while. We've already seen how weapons procurement goes. So those have been added. So where we left off in the last episodes, we fought this battle down here near Lynchburg. It was technically the Battle of 9th Street Bridge, which is the name of this IIP right here where they fought. And the big question right now, which is going to play a big part in where the Army of the Shenandoah goes next, is, okay, so Patterson's going to be retreating now. Where is he going to go? And that is a good question, because he's got a long way to go to reach any Union IIP, as we talked about before. So we'll have to see where he goes. I would like to get a force besieging Fort Monroe. And now that the Army of the Shenandoah is, I mean, they kind of been pulled out of position already because they had to chase Patterson down. I may move the Army of the Shenandoah over to besiege Fort Monroe and just leave Magruder where he is up here, able to reinforce Beauregard. Otherwise, it's move the Shenandoah back up and then move Magruder back down. Maybe easier just to move Shenandoah over. That's one possibility. I don't think there's much going on in any of the other theaters. Union has formed Army of Kentucky at Louisville, so there may be something going on here before too long, although I don't think it'll be in this episode. And we do have the Army of the West, which they had a campaign start, and we haven't had a spot on these guys since July 15th. Oh. He's building a fort. Interesting. So that tells me 2 things. Number one, this army is actually here, right? Because forts can only be built within the combat radius, which is the small circle in their immediate vicinity. So this army is actually here at Rolla. And the second thing that's interesting here is the AI doesn't typically build a lot of forts. So the fact that he's building a fort here, I find interesting. That is not very common for the AI. Okay, then. So that's what's kind of going on in the various theaters. One thing worth pointing out, we've got a pretty big disparity already. Over 100,000 men fielded by the Union, only 63,000 fielded by us. So we've already got a pretty big disparity here. However, this number is just a little bit misleading, because this number does not include units which have been recruited but haven't arrived yet, and units in transfer from one force to another, right? So basically any unit which is grayed out in the order of battle is not reflected here. And if we look at our armies, you know, 1, 2, 3, and here's the big one here, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Now some of these are ARDA units, which are pretty small. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So there's 24 units. About half of them are Cav and Arty, which aren't very big, but there's a lot of infantry brigades in there as well, particularly units which are being transferred from the Central Department up to the Army of Tennessee. So we've got about 24 units, and at least 10 to 12 of them are infantry brigades. And as soon as all of those units either arrive at their muster points or arrive after they're transferred to a field army, this number of 63,000 is going to come back up. This is probably more like 75 to 80,000 once everybody shows up. Let's get time rolling and see where Patterson goes. They're still in contact, pursuit, rearguard action. Okay. Yeah, he's kind of starting to move like he's trying to get back up into Western Virginia. Maybe. What? Okay, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. He's only going to retreat that far. Okay, well, so my understanding over, I don't know how many campaigns, this is like the 7th campaign that I've posted on YouTube, and then of course I played the game before that too. And my understanding has always been they have to retreat to a friendly held IIP, and there's not one for like 100 miles for this guy. Nope, he just basically moves out of contact, and that's all he needs to do. Maybe that's a difference between a major and a minor victory. On a major, they do have to retreat all the way to an IIP, whereas for a minor, maybe they don't. And remember, we kind of saw the same thing up here earlier. We fought this battle here near Manassas, and McDowell only moved a little bit out of the way over here to the bank of the river, and we had to go hit him again. So either A, it's the difference between a major and a minor, and minor victories are much, much more common now in the more recent patches. Or B, there's been a change that I don't remember seeing a patch note for. In any case, he's sitting here having just lost a battle and having to retreat, yet he's still capturing Lynchburg, which means Johnston's work is not done. Estimated he's down to 9,000 men. Which kind of implies that some of his units have transferred away. He was at about 18,000, and I don't think we inflicted 9,000 casualties. Well, okay. Well, we're just gonna go hit him again. I'm not gonna sit here and let him take Lynchburg. I don't see any particular reason to use forced march or anything like that. And if you notice there, you know, I mentioned about making those changes in the options to the order delay. I clicked there and the menu popped right up. There wasn't the little countdown thing. And it's just a lot easier to make movements on the campaign map when you make those changes in options. These are probably hospitals here. Arkansas River Hospital. Yeah. This came up in comments toward the end of the last campaign. Throughout my campaigns, I have made a distinction between... So here's the state. This is pronounced Arkansas. And what I have said before is the river that runs through it is pronounced Arkansas. That is half true. Notice that this river, it actually starts way up in Colorado and flows through Kansas and Oklahoma. And what I've more recently come to understand is I was not pronouncing it wrong, but down here in the lower stretches of the river, the people from Arkansas do call it the Arkansas River. And my understanding is same is true in Oklahoma. However, up in Colorado and Kansas, it is called the Arkansas River. So the pronunciation is somewhat regional on this river. Since in most cases, though, whenever I'm talking about it, it is relative to the stretch here in Arkansas. I should be saying Arkansas River. And if ever I refer to it up here for some reason, I don't normally go up in this area of the map, it would be called the Arkansas River up in this area. What stance? Oh, no, I want you in defensive stance. I don't see anybody else moving up in here. This supply depot was already here anyway. He's not building that here. Army of Kentucky. Notice our troop count is already increasing as more units show up. How are we doing here with the Army of Tennessee? Yeah, some of these units are starting to show up here. So now they're being counted in our troop totals. And I don't think that the AI recruits units the same way many players do, right? Where you've got like a rear area and here's where you recruit and then you transfer brigades forward. I don't think the AI does things that way. Okay, we've entered a siege situation again here at Lynchburg. And it is mostly in our favor. And we are inflicting more casualties than we're taking. I think I'm just going to let this percolate. We're not in a situation where there's any nearby Union armies that can come interfere and change the equation here. Let's just let that go. I think that's fine. Up to 80k total troops. Yeah, it's looking a little bit better. Although some troops could already be arriving for the Union as well. Yeah, they've picked up another 10,000 troops themselves, or 7,000. And I think that disparity is always going to be there on the CSA campaign. And should be. And should be. Yeah, and this bar is moving, this needle is moving further to the right. Our only broken unit is McLaws. McLaws has kind of got a hard luck outfit right now. Wait, what? Union armies on the move, Lincoln unwavering. Okay, I think I made a mistake here. Well, no. He hasn't finished capturing Lynchburg. That's not what prompted that. He hasn't captured Alexandria. That headline that just popped up means that the Union has won a victory on Confederate soil somewhere. And frankly, I don't know where that occurred. It's not over here. And it can either be a battle or it can be capturing a city. He didn't capture this. It's not there. He hasn't come into Tennessee as far as I can tell. He didn't win a battle here, nor has he captured Lynchburg yet. I wonder if it's just because he's in Virginia? Corinth. Corinth. He has slipped an army down here and completely did not see that. Well, obviously City Johnson's got to come down and do something about this, which I'm not too happy about because that leaves Nashville completely uncovered. But we've got to deal with this. Well, and here I was thinking, well, if I don't do anything in the West, the Union won't do anything either. Okay, so that theory is debunked. That is not true. Not true. We got some stuff going on over there, and the Johnsons guys, there are very. Let's have a look at this army, since obviously it's going to. He does have all of his troops now. That's good, but I think there's very few units here that maybe none. Maybe none. Yeah, there are no rifles. And he's got one artillery unit. They are 12 pounder Napoleons. That's good. So that's not good. Well, we'll do what we can do with the all smooth war army. Man, if we hadn't gotten that newspaper headline, I don't know how long I would have had to go before noticing that he's come into Mississippi. Meanwhile, we've got some of our little scout fleets ready to go. Let's send some up the river here to keep an eye on the Army of Kentucky. Let's send one here just to keep an eye on things around Cairo. Let's send Scout 2 up here close to Louisville. And then I've got another scout fleet somewhere. I think. Thought I did. Oh, it's at Decatur. Send them up here near Evansville. I mean, we know where this guy is. Are there any more units available in Central Department? I think it's only artillery. I do have Forrest. It's only 400 men. May as well transfer him in anyway. And this artillery is still going to be a while before any of them arrive. Do we have any? We do have some men in the Trans-Mississippi. Seven days. Okay, it's going to take them 7 days. And sure, we'll send Ryan's Raiders over as well. Okay, I need to recruit some units here just so that these just so that this unit does not disappear. Arkansas, no troops available. We can just recruit a couple of artillery. Put Johnston in defensive stance, and that way if he gets a siege here, he can afford to kind of hang on for a while until those extra units get to his army, kind of like we did before over in Virginia. If not, well, then we'll just fight. Okay, siege situation. But what is the outlook? This is probably not in our favor. Well, it's dead even for the moment. Okay, let's let that percolate, and hopefully we can hang on in this siege situation until those extra 2 brigades show up. Meanwhile, how are we doing over here at Lynchburg? Almost done, and that should be happening. That should be finishing up pretty much any time. Victory at Lynchburg. There we go. All right. So Patterson, how about retreating farther this time? No, he's only going to go that far. Well, the good news is, at least he's not capturing Lynchburg anymore. Bad news is, he's still here in Southwest Virginia. Alright, we're going to have to go. Hit him again. Looks like this needle has moved just a hair in our favor. We're at 53.47. Army of Kentucky is moving down the railroad toward Nashville. Okay, naval battle down at Galveston. Yeah, those are going to happen. Wow, those units got there pretty quick. I don't think we've been running time for 7 days, have we? They're not showing up here. those units. But I think if we were to convert to a tactical battle, I think they would be. Well, we made contact over here, and it looks like Department of Pennsylvania is continuing to retreat. As soon as contact was made, further freaking south. Question is, how far is it going to go this time? Unit disintegrates. Okay, well that's helpful. That's helpful. He just didn't have a place to go. Okay, so that makes sense. Now that doesn't mean that all of those brigades are just completely gone. They've probably appeared somewhere else. Yep. They reconstituted up here at Grafton. Now they're in terrible shape as far as readiness and morale and all that, but they are still there, and once they recover, that's an even bigger force here in Western Virginia. All right, and also same thing happens with Navy. You know, you'll see a fleet disintegrate. That doesn't mean those ships went away. They pop back up somewhere else. We saw that in the last campaign, where. In the last Union campaign, where we defeated a squadron up here near Norfolk that had CSS Virginia in it, and that fleet disintegrated organizationally, but CSS Virginia herself reappeared down here, I think off Charleston, in a different squadron. So an army or a fleet disintegrating isn't quite as catastrophic as it sounds. All right. Well, so Johnson has done his job as far as it goes. I'm going to go ahead and send Johnson over to besiege Fort Monroe. And use whatever river or rail, whatever, to get you there. That's fine. So Patterson has been taken care of for the moment. He's still up there, and I would feel better if the presence of those additional troops actually showed up here. Those additional, just to make sure that they will be there in the tactical battle. Meanwhile, this thing is going in our favor anyway, so I don't feel rushed to start that battle yet. I'm about 80% sure that those units would be present when we start the battle. I'm just not 100% sure. Whoop, 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 whoop. Army of the West has come down here close to Fort Smith. About 9,500 men. And we've got just about the same size in the Trans-Mississippi Army. Looks like a fairly large army on paper in terms of number of units. However, there are some awfully small brigades in here. They have gained a little bit in size. These started as 600-man brigades, slacks up almost to 1,000. Parsons has got almost 800. MSG 3rd Division, Clark, up around 800. McBride, about 800. So all these little bitty brigades have gained a few men. That's good. And then we've got some decent sized brigades as well. We've got almost 10,000 men here. Again, very, very few of them, if any. Yeah, I think these are probably all smoothbore guys too. Howitzers for the artillery. 12-pound howitzers at that. Rather than go just attack him, I think it would be better if we got the fort involved. Hopefully he will come besiege the fort and then we join that battle. And I think that would give us a pretty good edge. So he's come down here into Arkansas. Let's just let him make the next move. But here again, it pretty clearly the notion that if I don't do anything, he won't do anything. Nope. In the West, that is not true. Not true. Do we have a location? Well, okay. So we got an intel update, a spotting report that the Army of Kentucky had moved down here around Munfordville. But now we've got actual eyes on with this scout fleet, and he is still up at Kentucky, or rather at Louisville, which is great. Which is great. It means he's not moving on Nashville. That is a good thing to know. Good thing to know. Johnson moving over toward Fort Monroe. Let's let time keep rolling. Okay, we've got our military too, and that's going to increase the amount of military subsidies coming in, which we desperately, desperately need. So the next policy is going to be, if I can find it, yep, conscription. Most death. 30 days for that. And so what this is going to do is this going to extend all the contracts for all volunteer units and all existing in all of our armies to 36 months. And that is a little kind of a nice buff that the union doesn't get with their draft policy. It's also just on its own, I believe that this will also increase our volunteer manpower pool as well, in addition to all the draft soldiers that are available. So that's the next thing. We're doing that. And looks like we've also got some projects available. Let's pause this. And they're agriculture. Yeah, I'm not interested in either one of these. Plantation mech, which would increase the output of cotton, and then cotton is king, which simply increases European relations. I'm not interested in either of these. I am holding off on agricultural subsidies for the farm mechanization project, which A, will improve our crops output, and B, will increase our volunteer manpower pool, which is the main reason for going for it. The crops is also good. Worth mentioning that farms have 4 products: crops, forage, livestock, and wool. Farm mechanization, the tooltip for it, let's just bring it up. So before you take Farm Mag, it says here in the description, each level of this project further increases farm output and available volunteers. Once one takes Farm Mag, we're pretty close to it actually. Once one takes the project though and looks at the effects over here on the right, what we're going to see is that available volunteers bumps up 10%, which is great. That is literally twice as good as the effect of, on the military side, the recruitment offices, which is 5% per level. What we'll also see though is that it doesn't increase farm output across the board for everything that farms produce. It only increases crops specifically, 1 out of 4 products, which is good to have. It's just not quite as good as this little blurb might lead one to infer. Okay. So we got stuff going on. Johnston moving to Fort Monroe. We got a kind of an entrenchment siege battle going on here in Mississippi at Corinth, which may or may not convert to a tactical battle. I mean, it's kind of going in our favor as it is. There's not any Union armies nearby which can come interfere with this. So I might just let that go as it is. The idea being that it should cost us a lot fewer casualties doing it this way than by doing a tactical battle, even if the tactical battle goes well. And then they've come down into northwest Arkansas as well. So something may be occurring over here in the vicinity of Fort Smith very, very soon. Kind of what I want to have happen is him come in here and besiege Fort Smith. I think that would be better for us than crossing the river to engage him up here. But I think that that will do for this episode. If you like what we're doing with the channel, if you like this content, looking forward to more of the campaign as I am, then leave a like, leave a comment, maybe even subscribe. If you're new to the series and the channel and would like to find your way to other episodes in this series that you may not have seen yet, I'm linking the playlist here. At any rate, thank you very, very much for watching. I appreciate it.